Okay, so I haven't done this before, but what I wanted to do, I'm not going to write a script or anything. I just, as a friend, just want to share my experience of starting to try and learn some other tabletop role-playing games that aren't D&D, because there are so many and it feels scary. It shouldn't, but I'm just being honest. It feels scary to learn a new system. And I just wanted to share a bit of my experience of that, because right now I'm learning 5 or 6 different ones all concurrently. And a lot of my brain would prefer not to have to do that, because that's big and scary. But I want to play online with some people, and I want to learn different games, and I want to teach my brain that D&D isn't the one and only way to play tabletop role-playing games, and isn't necessarily the best for the types of games and types of stories I want to tell. But that's really scary. So right now I'm about to start a couple of new games with some people streaming online, which is really exciting. But they're new systems. So one is going to be City of Mist. The other one is going to be Rememorex. So City of Mist is a cool, mythological creatures, but in a city game. I think it's meant to be maybe a bit scary. I don't know. Never played before. Never watched anyone play it before. Rememorex is a what does it say? It says tabletop role-playing game of 80s suburban horror. So I don't even watch horror movies, but I do know 80s youth movies, and that's kind of what it's all about. So literally over the past week, I've had to work out what these are, and then start to think of character ideas for them. And then I'm also trying to get my head around lasers and feelings, because I want to get some other ones of my friends into tabletop role-playing, and lasers and feelings is a 1-page one. And then I'm also trying to learn a little small kind of really open-ended one that's called Folklore, which is a rules light role-playing game. I'll put up on the screen where you can find all these and who they're by, because I'm learning lots of them right now. I also really, really love Monster Hearts and have been reading that, but I'm not trying to learn how to play it because I don't have anyone to play it with at the moment. Okay. So, before D&D, before a couple of years ago, I never played D&D before. Now I've played D&D and a little bit of Starfinder. Which Starfinder is like Pathfinder, and they're very sort of similar. And I was lucky enough, well, not lucky enough, I don't know, that's a weird thing to say. I happened to make my first ever character with paper. So I happened to do okay, I want to be a human, look up all the stats, what do they get plus or minus to, okay, cool, and what do I want, what language do I want, this, and instead of on D&D Beyond, it was you had to go and look it up. It took a lot, and you had to work out how you wanted to balance it, and you had to roll, all these things. So I do remember it being a lot more complex than, I do remember session 0 being incredibly important for character and less for what type of game do we want to play, lines and veils, that type of session 0. Session 0 is still very important, but I remember it being a lot what does rogue get, what starting equipment, what, asking lots of questions that D&D Beyond just answers now. There's this, so I'm a teacher, and I don't know why I said that, because I knew this concept, but I only recently, a friend told me it had a name, which is the stages of learning, and it's the Maslow stages of skill learning. So basically this happens for you and me. I'm really comfortable with D&D now. I know enough of the rules to comfortably play. I know enough of the idea of it to comfortably break the rules. I've DM'd hundreds of hours of D&D now in the past just couple of years. So basically I'm up to being unconsciously competent. So I now, when I look at D&D, go, oh, this is actually really, really easy. Literally anyone can do it. There's a little learning curve, but really it's very easy. When I started playing D&D, that's not how I felt about it. I felt intimidated, and it was a lot, and it hasn't changed. It is a lot, and it still is intimidating. I have just become unconscious of that learning hump. That, like, I know all the dice now, for example. I understand that you always roll a d20. I still have players at my table who are still learning, don't put your d20 away. That's what you used to roll for everything. And that's fine, because that's learning. So, okay. I should have written a script, but I don't really want to make this a thing. I just want to share my experience of getting over that hump of I think I'll just play D&D. I think I'll just play in D&D. I'm trying to help a group at the moment who I love playing with. They're all mums. It's really cool. And in our next campaign, we're almost finished with our first one. In our next one, I was like, do you want to do something different? And they're like, no, please. We haven't even really learnt D&D yet. And so for that game, I'm doing what a lot of people suggest online, which is just during D&D, put other small role-playing games inside of it. So I'm playing around with borrowing some rules, especially for group dynamic from other games, to sort of ease them into the idea that there's other flavors. So that's that was my first thing. I was like, oh, I'll just play with it. Then I recognized the fact that I teach kids D&D, and when I teach kids D&D, I already use a completely different tabletop role-playing game. I don't teach kids D&D. I teach kids an open-ended, you can do whatever you want kind of improv tabletop role-playing game. I just called it D&D because that's all I knew. Now, I really want to try other ones, and now I've been invited to play online, and the first one was Rememorex, this cool 80s horror youth movie style one, which has lots of mechanics in it, as if you're in a movie. And then another one is City of Mist. And so first I'm reading through the source books and just being this is a lot. It's new, and I think they're both D6 systems. So none of the, I know a D6, everyone knows a D6, but it's a different concept of what's going to mean a success, what's the story going to be like. I really like thinking about it. I sort of look for similar mechanics, so similar ways that you play the game. So when somebody says it's a D6 system, that's a type of mechanic. Or maybe you want to play a game that's tarot cards, that's a mechanic within the game. So that's kind of what my brain clutches for, is oh, that's similar. Okay, I understand that. But writing the City of Mist character, you're kind of going through character creation, reading through it, and it's so confusing. And a part of you, or a part of me, sorry, is so first you think, well, D&D's the only game. First I think D&D's the only game. And then there are all these other games. So that's going from unconscious incompetence, I don't even know, to conscious incompetence. There are so many games, I'm never going to know them. This is never going to happen. And while I'm making this character sheet, I'm it's too hard. You're okay, name, easy. And then they give you a range of things that are kind of a class, and you're oh yeah, I can do this. And then it's completely left field, and they're you need to choose themes and this and this and this. And it makes you kind of, because you're conscious of how you don't know how to do it, it makes you very worried that you won't be able to do it. And a lot of my insides, I keep saying I mean go, nah, I just maybe don't want to do it. Maybe. Because what I know is comfy and fun, and this is work, and they don't have a website like D&D Beyond, so why? That is a feeling that is pretty universal when you're learning anything new. You get to this point where you're either this isn't worth it, or other people can do this, but I'm too dumb to do this, or maybe I don't like it. Maybe it's just it's just not my thing. I don't like it. It's not my thing. I really like D&D when I kind of just comfy sit in that. That's comfy. That's nice. And the thing is that learning is kind of uncomfortable. And when you learnt D&D, that was uncomfortable. You had to be vulnerable about not knowing something. You had to be like, which dice is it? And people laughed at you at the table, like in jest. Yeah, that all happens with everything that you learn. And you, I don't know, maybe you have a discarded instrument somewhere around your house, not calling anyone out, or a something that you threw off because in that conscious incompetence, it was too much. You were like, nah, obviously I don't have the talent for this, or obviously, like, I could get into it, but it's too hard, like it's too much work. And sometimes that's like not the talent thing. Almost everything you can practice, but sometimes, like, at a certain point in your life, yeah, it's fine. Like, something is too hard, pick it up later. Like, put it down, pick it up later. I've got so many like things in my life, skills that I'm like, I'll pick that up later. Or ones I'll never pick up again, like crochet. I get that you can crochet. You might be incredible at crocheting. I get that once you know how to do it, it's really easy. But that bit of conscious incompetence where I'm like, I know I'm really, really bad at this, I can't get past that. So there's no crochet from me. There's one square. But apart from that, no crochet from me. This crochet, very talented friend, not me. Okay. So in that point where you're like, this game is too hard, even like, okay, so Lasers and Feelings is a 1 page. But it's like lots of little text, and my brain, especially being dyslexic, my brain goes, nah, I think maybe other things could be more fun. Other things. And my brain goes, but other things. Or like, you already know D&D, keep doing that. But how many times in your life have you learnt a new skill, a new bit of knowledge, and that's like changed so much for you? Key one would be like reading. Like, it just opens a whole world. So I have to realize that there's probably like hours of fun with my friends on this piece of paper. And all I have to do is push past conscious incompetent, and like focus in a little bit and start to get a handle on it. And that's going to happen more than once every new game that you learn. So with City of Mist, just last night I was building the character, and it was very complicated. And also I was like getting annoyed at the way the book is set out. It's not set out bad. It's beautiful. But it's not like I've never looked at it before. It's all new to me. It's not bad at all. It's now that I understand it a little bit more, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense. But the first time it doesn't make sense, and you've got to push until it does make sense. So I had to pick power tags and weakness tags for my like my identity and mystery. All new words to you, all new words to me, like only last night. Okay, so it's a lot. But I was like, ugh, I literally closed the computer. I was like, I don't know if I want to. Or I also was like, maybe I'll just wait and be that person in the group who's like, I haven't done it, can you help me? Which is also fine. But I kind of took a deep breath. I opened it up again. I realized that people who make games want you to be able to play the game. They want you to be able to do it. So they've set it out in a way where you can do it. You just have to give them the benefit of the doubt and keep reading. Or not even. I've skimmed it a lot. I'm just trying to make a character so that I can learn how to play with the group. So that's what I did. I pushed past that incompetence, knowing that I couldn't do it. I opened up my laptop and I was like, okay, keep reading. And now I haven't even played yet. That was only a number of hours ago last night, and I think I could probably walk you through making a character in this game now. Like, it's actually really cool. It's very interesting. It's based on descriptors. I'm really excited about my character. So now I've got this conscious competence where I'm like, oh, I can do it. The trick is to remember that, not to get to or like to push through unconscious competence where you think it's just easy. Where I hand the City of Mist to somebody else and I go, yeah, like this isn't a problem. Which is not how it was handed to me. How it was handed to me was, new game, see how you go, but don't worry, I'll help you through. Which is, I think, how you should introduce people to games. It was beautiful. Same with Remember-X. Same thing. It was just kind of like, I was like, oh, this is a lot. Also, do I know enough 80s horror and 80s video stuff? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't even played yet. We'll see. But it's the same thing of going, this is too hard. All new game. I don't know how to do it. I'd rather not do it. Pushing through that to it's even like just a couple of minutes. Or it might just be having one conversation with somebody who has done it before. And then you're like, oh, okay, this is actually doable. I can actually do this. I don't want to pretend that I'm teaching kids D&D anymore when actually I could be teaching them a game that they can take home and continue to play like in their hand, like this, what was it called? Like this folklore game. Or Lasers and Feelings, which is like a free one-page, like really cool. Who doesn't want to play Lasers and Feelings? Apparently me, because I don't want to read it. You see how like you're cutting off all this experience for yourself because you don't think you can do it. And that comes out when you don't believe in yourself to be able to do something. That's called having like low self-efficacy. And one thing that happens with low self-efficacy sometimes is that you view a challenge as a threat. So if you've ever noticed in yourself this reaction to somebody being like, you should try a different tabletop role-playing game, like you should try a different TTRPG, you might really like it. If you've noticed like an anger, that's probably that is most likely because a part of you doesn't think that you will be able to do that, to learn a new game, and so you're responding to that like it's a threat, like you are being threatened. It's the same with kids in class. Like if I ask somebody to do some maths and they don't think they can do it, sometimes they'll react by saying, I don't know how to do that. But if they have low self-efficacy and they think that it's going to show that they're dumb or that they're not talented or whatever, they'll respond to that by aggression, being angry. And I notice that sometimes in myself, when people like try this new thing and I'm like, yeah, but no, I really like my old thing. And also screw you for telling me to try the new thing. Ha! That is because I'm scared of trying the new thing. That has nothing to do with the other person. Okay, I've got to get on with my day. If you listen to this, I'm glad. Tell me in the comments if you have tried a new tabletop role-playing game or a new anything, actually, during lockdown or anytime. Tell me about your learning. Tell me about if you've gone through this 4 cycles of learning. Also, let me know if, after thinking a little bit, you've realized that you've become unconsciously competent at something. You've become so good at something that you forgot that it's actually a hard thing to learn. I have dyslexia. So many teachers I've worked with don't understand why reading is so hard for somebody to pick up. That's because they are unconsciously competent. It seems like second nature to them now. Whereas for me, because it's still a bit hard, and also I remember, I've never become consciously competent of it. I still remember the struggle of how hard it is to do. So yeah, I will let you know how my actual first games of these systems go. I'll let you know if I ever do get to play Lasers and Feelings or Monster Hearts, which I really want to get into. Let me know in the comments about your other tabletop role-playing games. I'm still playing a lot of D&D, love it so much, but there are so many more.